welcome to the Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy Holistic Spiritual Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Beverly. Today we have our wonderful friend that I just love to talk to. Her name is Dr. Tanya English. She's a soul chiropractor, but she's not just a chiropractor. She's also a therapist, an energy healer, or she was a massage therapist, an energy healer, and a blues singer. Isn't that interesting? So today she's going to talk to us about the 3 top ways to stay stuck in your stuff, which is the topic of our summit coming up March 23rd. And she's going to be a wonderful speaker and do a live exercise for everybody, and we'll all be in Zoom together. It'll all be live. And she's going to tell us all about that today. So welcome, Dr. Tanya.
Thank you so much. I just had everything freeze for a second, so I don't know what happened, but I hope it wasn't I hope I was okay on camera.
Oh, well.
That's so funny.
It's
So,
okay now.
yeah, good. Glad to be here. Thank you, Dr. Beverly. Thank you so much.
So tell us about what you're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to talk about 3 top ways to stay stuck in your stuff, because you know what? People love to hear about how terrible things are. It's just a way that we can get attention to. So I'm actually turning the tables. Instead of giving you all these wonderful things you can do, I'm going to talk about how you stay stuck. Because the people that I work with are ready to move out of stuckness. They're ready to move forward with their life, but sometimes they just don't know what the first step is. So getting assistance is really helpful. So those 3 top ways that I'm going to talk about, don't worry, I'm going to give you 3 things to counteract those 3 top ways to stay stuck. So we're going to do all that at the summit, and it'll be really fun because it's experiential, and that's what we want people to have, a transformational experience when we're doing healing.
Cool.
Why not?
And then tell us about the live exercise you're going to do.
Well, a couple of things. So I'm going to kind of intersperse that with what we talk about, but we're going to be doing a guided meditation, and then we're going to be also doing a little exercise where you have to make a list really quickly. And then we're also going to be doing some things to help us move from sympathetic nervous system into parasympathetic. So we're going to go from fight or flight response into rest, digest, and heal. So we're going to do those 3 things, and it's pretty seamless. I think you'll really like it. So it'll be ready to have some fun too, because you'll start to feel what happens. A lot of times people will ask me, how long does it take to feel different when we're doing healing? And it can be instantaneous. I mean, really, your body knows how to heal stuff. Like, that's why we're not all covered with paper cuts all over our hands, because our body knows how to heal. So, and what do we do with the paper cut? We stick it in our mouth, right? Stick it in your mouth because the saliva in your mouth starts the healing process and adds to it. And as soon as you get cut, healing starts. And then you put it in your mouth, and that saliva has good enzymes in it that helps the healing as well. So you're healing all the time. But what we want to do is heal at will. Like, we want to be able to put ourselves in alignment with healing energy and then allow that to take place. So basically what we're doing is getting our ego out of the way. So we're doing things that will help us get into alignment with the healing energy that's already there. And that's chiropractic 101 philosophy. So it's really that simple. Remove interference, the body heals. The reason why I call myself a soul chiropractor, and other people have actually introduced me like that. Oh, this is Tanya. She's she's a soul chiropractor. I'm like, oh, that's going on my card. The reason why I say that is because the root cause is energetic.
Mm-hmm.
And you are energy, and you have a body, not the other way around. So you can think of yourself like this. Think of yourself as a cloud of energy. And as that cloud becomes more and more dense, there's your physical body. Because you don't stop right here at the surface of your skin. Your energy is around you. 6 feet, people say, 6 feet around you, depending on what your emotional state is. Sometimes it gets really small, and sometimes it really expands. And when we're expanding, that means that we're in the love part of the energy. And so what we're doing is helping people love themselves more. Really, just love yourself.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
So, tell us how you work with people and what is that like? What are you seeing as common people come in with?
The most common thing is grief, because you can have it for any reason, really. I mean, there's grief of a loved one passing, and there's grief of your lifestyle changing like it did through COVID. There's loss of a job, there's moving. You might have a nice place, but maybe your old place was something that had a lot of meaning for you, and it's a loss. It doesn't matter if there's a gain too. So you can stay in that feeling of loss. And when this happens, most people, I mean, everybody says, well, the grief stays with you. And I would say, yeah, to a certain extent it does. Time does not heal all wounds. Let me just say that. That's a fallacy. It doesn't really. It just continues. Time just goes on. But healing, when you have grief, and my experience was one of the grief experiences I've had in my life is the loss of a baby. We were expecting the birth of our first son, and 9 months, and he was stillborn. So as I'm laying there in the hospital bed, I'm thinking, well, what am I supposed to gain from this? Because I keep saying everything happens to the highest good. And it was like I got a little tap on my shoulder saying, yeah, do you really believe that? Or are you just saying it? And so I went down the road for about 10 minutes of not believing that. And I could have checked out from life. I mean, I had the perfect excuse, right? I could have checked out. I was finishing up chiropractic college at the time. And so um, that didn't look very good to me, that road. So I decided to go down the road of everything happens to the highest good. And that means that I have to find the good. So my action that I have to take is to seek the good. Where is it here? Because this seems awful. And many people will agree.
Yeah.
However, my understanding is that we are all going to die, and that some people die when they're old, and some people die when they're young, and some people die because they were in an accident. Some people die because they got sick, and some people die because they're done. They're just done. And the way I look at it, and the way that we explain this to my little bonus daughters who are waiting for this baby, is that everybody's going to do this, and it's really okay, because we all do it, and it's nothing to be afraid of. And it's, you can be sad. That's fine. You can have your own feelings about whatever happens in your life, because your feelings are valid. But here's what, we don't want to stay there. We don't want to stay in the sad, negative feelings, because that's not healthy for us.
Right.
So we want to seek, where's the joy in this experience? Well, it brought me and my husband together forever. That doesn't happen for everybody. So we know that that was special. And it made us have these conversations with little girls who were waiting for their little brother to be born. And we were setting the example for people around us to not blame and shame, because there are plenty of people that wanted to do that. It was so-and-so's fault. Well, it's actually my fault if you're going to do that, because the baby was inside of me. There was nobody else there. So are we going to walk around thinking, yeah, you're to blame for this? People will say amazingly awful things when you're in grief, and you can't even believe that it's coming out of their mouth. But they'll say things like, well, it wasn't like you were really a mom, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And people say that to people in grief. Oh, yeah. Oh, God
yeah.
needed an angel. I'm like, well, God can make an angel. It's God. Doesn't need my baby, right, to be an angel. So what I'm saying is, like, people will say these things. So you've got to find a place where you can feel okay with you, because the what ifs happen, the litany of mistakes. We're going to talk about that during the summit. All these things that will help bring you down and help to make your life miserable. So how do you get out of that? Because some of this stuff happens because there's already a pattern set in place for it to happen. And it started at a very young age. I was just talking with a client today, and she was talking about how she was going to have to confront somebody. And it was bringing up all these feelings, and she knew it wasn't really about that. it was about something else. And I said, aren't these the same feelings that you have with somebody in your life? And she said, yeah, her dad. So she's anticipating some kind of retribution from this person that probably won't have anything to do with that, because that's what happened to her. There was not unconditional love in her household. So she's waiting for this negative thing to happen instead of just going, yeah, it's not a good fit. That's okay. And we really appreciate your time. It was somebody that they were interviewing for a job. And, she doesn't have the responsibility to make everything okay for this other person. And this happens a lot to women. We feel totally responsible for everybody's welfare around us because there wasn't anybody telling us not to. So we just take it on because as children, we're the center of the universe. We don't know that things are happening outside of us that we don't have any clue about. Like when parents get divorced and the child thinks, oh, it's because of me, right? That's because all children think everything happens because of them, because they don't understand the bigger picture. They don't have that part of their brain working yet. So what we do is try to bring people back to a little more basic reality and say, where did this start? What's the root cause of this? Even with physical pain, there's a root cause. And it's not because your levels aren't right. This is all the symptom. All anything physical is the symptom. Yeah. And see, here's the thing. You can't cure a disease with the same kind of thinking that created it. So you have to go deeper than that. So what I'm saying is, like, people don't become disease ridden, and I mean any disease. It doesn't matter if it's alcoholism or anorexia or cancer, unless they have something working on them, because every emotion that you have has its own physiology, and they can become subconscious patterns. We call that a subconscious emotional memory overriding present time. You're not aware of the memory happening, but that pathway is so worn. It's like I-80, which is near my house. It's like this Main Street America that goes from New York to San Francisco. It's so fast, you don't even know what's happening. And so you only catch that it's happening when you feel the negative emotion. So that's why we like to go right to the root cause. So it can take an instant or it can take years too, because we're chipping away. We don't want to bust the dam all at once. In other words, we want to take a pebble away and make the load lighter so that it's easy.
Yeah. You were saying we're energy bodies in acupuncture. We have all these channels, and
Right.
sometimes they get blocks in the channels. So how do you work with blockages?
One of the ways that I use is emotional freedom technique, because that's actually tapping on acupuncture points.
Right.
And it's like magic. You will change your energy. Even me just talking like this and tapping on these points is going to help me feel better while I'm talking to you. It's really that simple. And there's
Yeah.
other techniques that I use, like bioenergetic synchronization technique, which works on those subconscious emotional memories. And when we're doing all those things, we can do them online with people. I did them over the phone before I started using this technology. I was doing this since 2014 when we had Skype and everybody was using Skype. I was doing that over the phone with people that were local because we didn't really need Skype. So people don't need to come into my office to do this work. We can do it online and over the phone. We're connected right now, Dr. Beverly, right? We're having this conversation and we're exchanging energy and we're connected. And it doesn't matter that you're thousands of miles away from me. We still have this connection going. So it works no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It's also interesting too. You were talking about the number one thing you're seeing is grief, and especially because of COVID, all the people dying. And in Chinese medicine, grief is associated with the lungs, and what was people getting at all this lung issue.
Yes.
And
And
it's
what was happening? People were having those those symptoms with this because, well, by the way, I got COVID twice. I got it before they told us about it, and I diagnosed myself when I found out how people were feeling and what was happening to them, and I was like, that's what I had. I had COVID. And then I got it again later. We don't know how. So this illness, just look at what's happening in the world. The kind of grief we can't get. 90% of the country would love to have background checks for people that own weapons of mass destruction, and we can't get our lawmakers to do anything about it. That's grief. We are stuck. And so when you start looking at these things and what the collective consciousness is, we all want to feel safe, but people are being killed in the street because they have immediate access to weapons. And so what happens, we have this collective thing. Of course, there's people fooling around with viruses and stuff in places we don't know about, and then it shows up here. I'm not discounting all the different ways this happens. I'm saying look at the even bigger picture. What's happening with people. It's very sad, and it can cause a lot of grief. But I'm sorry.
I was saying, and all the unnecessary wars.
If everybody felt happy with themselves and didn't have any fear, we wouldn't have any war.
No, nobody would go.
Because there's no fear. What do we have to be afraid of? People coming over the border? That's happened for thousands of years. The way people got here in the first place was over the Bering Strait. Everybody's a migrant. Everybody. It doesn't matter. So why fear them?
You're an intuitive healer. So tell me how that works for you.
Okay, so it was really interesting. When I was really young, I would know things about people just by being in their presence, and I'd be able to. My mother was always asking, "What do you think of that person?" And I'm like, "Well, like you seem kind," like I'd give her a little thumbnail of what I picked up, but I didn't realize what it was. And then I channeled without knowing what that was, and nobody spoke to me about it. And I was like, I'm having these experiences, but nobody's talking to me about them, so I guess they're no big deal. But then I realized that I was seeing things about people that, and when I say seeing, I don't mean like suddenly I didn't see what was in front of me. I was having like a mind imagination kind of seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was seeing things that people weren't seeing. And I was like, don't you see that? And they were like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, that's interesting. So I had been doing this for all growing up and everything. And then when I went to massage school and I was working on people, I would get images of them in other places. Like I'd be working on somebody and I'd see them getting bullied as a child. Or I'd see them in some kind of significant experience. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know if I should tell them or because I didn't have the techniques and the way to bring it up so that it made sense with what we were doing. So I just kind of kept it to myself. And then I met my mentor, Daniel Hanneman, who we call the Blockbuster. And he's like, no, you have intuition and here's how you can use it. And he taught me how to do intuitive energy scans. And I started doing them and I was like, this is so easy. So the trick is, and it's not a trick, is you just don't edit out anything that you get.
Right.
You just don't say, oh, that can't be it.
Yeah.
That's what most people do.
Right.
Or they don't name it. They just go, I just have a weird feeling about that person. They don't know what it is. So what I did was I practiced scanning people. I scanned hundreds of people. And what I found was I was hitting the nail on the head like every time. Every time they'd say, how did you know that? Or, wow, you really hit the nail on the head. And that sounds like me. And, oh yeah, I know where that came from. That came from this. And so as I'm doing the scan, I'm receiving all this information about them and I'm asking for it. And I'm asking source, I'm asking God energy, source energy for this information. And God goes, okay, here. So when I'm working on somebody, and here's my office, that's my adjusting table. When somebody is here on the table and I'm asking, what can I do with this person? What do they need right now? Show me what they need. I might go through my whole list of things that I do and I get a no. And then I'm like, okay, just tell me what to do then, because I'm getting no's. And I'll get, check this. I'll get a thought in my head. Check this. Oh, yeah, I didn't check that. Let me check that. And sure enough, that's where the problem is, or that's where we can get in. Because we're always looking for the opening to get in. Doesn't matter where it is. Doesn't matter if it's an adjustment, a physical adjustment. It doesn't matter if it's an emotional thing that we're going to clear. Source always has a way for me to get in.
Yeah, I agree with
Did they
that.
answer the question?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Yeah, I had that same problem because I see through the veil and I see all the beings all around us. I
Right?
talk to them and sometimes they poke me. Like now, whenever I talk about them, they poke me.
I get a little like itchy feeling on one of my shoulder blades in the back. And
Yeah,
I'll
I
be
get
like,
poked
what are
right
you,
back here. I get
what are
like
you,
a little
what am I
kind of
supposed to pay
ticklish.
attention to right now?
Yeah,
Why are you poking me? Yeah.
yeah,
Like, stop it. It's getting scratchy. But
yeah.
so when I learned to do that, I was like, can I do the healing that I'm doing with people on the table, on the adjusting table right there? Can I do the healing with them over the phone? And nobody taught me how to do this. And I just started doing it. And it was working. And I was like, this is awesome because
Yeah.
I can do this technique and I can do it at a distance. And I said, this is quantum healing. This is what I'm doing. I'm making very tiny changes with the person and it's changing everything. That's what
Mhm.
a quantum leap is. It's an electron moving from one area of probability to another area of probability. And the observer changes what's observed. So you can't do really a double blind study on it.
No.
So you just have to look at what's happening. And so I'm always looking for, let's expand to make this person see something that is going to help them better, to think about things differently, to release whatever's holding them in this position kind of thing. And so I just go with what source tells me.
Cool. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's really fun because when I'm looking at each chakra, I'll say, okay, third chakra, show me what's going on at third chakra. And third chakra is supposed to be yellow. And I might see like this pale yellow balloon that's just bouncing along the sidewalk. Like it's not really filled with helium. It's
That's
just kind of
spinning.
bouncing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so you're kind of feeling kind of drained, feeling like, why bother anyway? And the person will go, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I'm like, well, what I'm seeing is this yellow balloon bouncing down the sidewalk and it really doesn't have any direction. It's just there. And so we need to like open this up so we know where to work.
Now, my dissertation was how to combine sound and light with acupuncture to relieve pain.
Awesome.
So you use music for
Yeah.
releasing things. Tell us about that.
Oh, so I don't use that in my typical session. I use that for myself, really. And so one of the aspects of my practice is that I have an actual band. My first band, I started 13 years ago, and I sing blues music because blues was a healer for me. And anybody that loves blues music or plays blues music knows that blues is a healer because people are singing about not just sad things, but they're singing about their experience. And when we have a shared experience, it's like, oh, good. Somebody else has felt this way too. And I'm not here by myself. And when I'm singing, because singing is such a wonderful release and it's vibrational, then you can release a lot of blocks with that. So you don't have to sing blues music. That's what I do because it speaks to me. You could sing any kind of music. You could listen to music. That's why people like to listen to sad songs when they're feeling sad. It
Mhm.
brings up the sadness. It helps you release it. You might even cry while you're listening to a sad song, thinking
Mhm.
about your terrible experience,
Mhm.
and it's helping to release that. So when I'm doing a performance, this is another way I do healing. I do it by performing blues music. And the thing that's really amazing about it is that people have healing just listening. They're on the edge of their seats. They're listening to what's going to happen next because they don't know what I'm going to do. They might know the song. they might be very familiar with the song, but they don't know what I'm going to sing. They don't know how it's going to come out of me. So when people ask me, what's your instrument? I say, this is my instrument, because it is, and it's everybody's instrument. So where I'm not going to teach you a blues song, I might, but it's not really part of what I'm doing right now with my healing work. With my music, that's healing for people out there in the world to get. It's also part of my experience of healing. So I'm singing songs that mean something to me, a story that I can attach to that song that's in my life. And I can tell you all the stories for every song. And it is something that's so freeing, allowing yourself to really express how you feel through music. There's just nothing better.
Yeah,
Nothing.
I like singing in the shower and in the car and what have you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I did for years and years. And then somebody said, why don't you and Ed have a band? Ed's my husband and he's my bassist. And he had already been playing lots of places and been playing for like 30 years. And then I said, well, do you want to have a band with me? And he said, yeah, that would be good. We can do that. And I said, great. And he said, but you're going to have to play gigs because your band won't want to rehearse just so you can hear yourself. And I was like, oh, yeah, can we get gigs? And he said, yeah, we can get gigs. So we played at the Mississippi Valley Blues Festival on the banks of the Mississippi in Davenport, Iowa. We've done that a few times. We played at the North Liberty Blues and Barbecue, which is just north of us. We've played lots of places locally. I've been to Chicago and actually been on stage at Kingston Mines with Joanna Connor, who's a wonderful guitarist, and she's a great singer. But she is an amazing guitarist. You can look her up online. Joanna Connor. Yeah, she's awesome. And, being able to share that with people brings them really a lot of joy. So the people that are really sitting up and listening, those are those women who are ready to move, ready to get out of the stuckness. They're usually over 40 and they've been through some things and they're ready. Like, I just want to leave the past in the past and I want to have my new life. So that's who I'm really targeting as far as that goes, because I'm the example of that. I've had a lot of different things happen to me. I had childhood sexual abuse happen. I've been sexually assaulted. I've been a stepmom. I've had undiagnosed mental illness around me. I've had all different kinds of stillbirth, miscarriage, all of these things, menopause. Oh my gosh, yeah, all of these things have happened. And so I'm kind of an expert at, at being a woman in this century and allowing myself to really follow what my passion is. And my passions are to be connected with source and to bring that to others. So it's a big part of what I do.
Nice.
And the vibration part is so much fun.
Well, you have a gift for people at the summit. Anyone who registers, the summit is free. You have a gift. And you're also going to offer it to anyone who listens to the podcast. So you can check out Dr. Tanya a little further. So it's called the powerful personal.
Yeah, powerful personal affirmation.
Tell us about your gift.
Well, so a lot of people know about affirmations, but this is a little mini class that helps you write your own. So that's why it's personal. And it's powerful because I'm going to show you what's a good example of an affirmation and what's not a good example. So you're going to get to see that. And then you're going to have a little exercise where you write down a list of things, a list of adjectives, a list of things that you want to be or that you are. How about that? And then you put it all together and you put it in a paragraph, and boy, you could write a song with that.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Right? You could hum a tune to it. You can tap on it. You can do all kinds of things with this personal powerful affirmation or powerful personal, it doesn't matter. The PPA. So what happens when you do that is now you have something that's truly yours. You can get affirmations out of a book. For sure, you can. And we all use Louise Hay's Heal Your Body book. Everybody go buy the book. tons of affirmations in there, but this is different because you're writing it from your heart. You're writing it from who you really are, what's really true about you, because you're a divine expression of love.
Mhm.
Yes, you are.
Mhm.
And when you use that as your basis for how you talk about yourself to yourself, it's extremely powerful. So it's in an audio, but you can also read it. So there's a PDF that goes with it. And you can join our Facebook group, and it's in there too. And you can share your powerful personal affirmation there. That would be awesome. So feel free to
So
do that.
the link will be down below. For those of you that are listening to the podcast, it's tanya-english.mykajabi.com/the-PPA for powerful personal affirmation. The link is down below. And if you come to the summit, you'll also get the link in Zoom because you'll be live in chat. And anyone who actually purchases a VIP ticket, it's optional. You can register for free and get all the free gifts. But we have VIP gifts. And one of the wonderful things Dr. Tanya does is this intuitive energy scan that she was talking about earlier. And that will be one of the 6 VIP gifts. So tell us about your VIP gift.
So this is going to be a 60-minute session where I read your energy. You'll fill out a form ahead of time that gives me lots of information. It's a short form. You don't have to write a dissertation or anything like that, but you'll answer some questions that'll help get us started, and I'll ask you some questions, and then I'll connect with your energy, and I'll be writing everything that shows up for each chakra, and then I'll come back with you online. We'll do it on Zoom, and I'll record it for you. And we'll come back on and I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you what the chakras looks like, what it feels like when it's working and open, what it feels like when it's blocked, and what yours was. So you get all 3 of those things for each chakra. And then we can discuss what you want to do next and find out where you're at.
That's a great gift.
Yeah, it's really
So the
fun.
summit is holistictransformationsummit.com. That's not hard to remember. And Dr. Tanya and I will be 2 of the 6 speakers, and it's completely live in Zoom, and you'll be in Zoom with the speakers. And it's the March 23rd. It's a Saturday, so everybody in the world is off usually on Saturday, including the people in Asia, who it's a Sunday for them.
Right?
So we look forward to seeing everybody. So, Dr. Tanya, do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, I just want to say that healing is always available, that you got to find out what you're seeking because you're going to find it. So I'm just going to ask you, why don't you seek joy, seek love, seek happiness, seek expansion, because that's going to get you what you're looking for. Allow that. And then when assistance comes, don't say, no, I'm busy. Take the assistance when it comes. Don't leave yourself out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was great talking to you today. We're so happy that we were able to connect with you for the podcast. And everyone, if you would be kind enough to do a like and a subscribe, we appreciate that very much. And the summit is holistictransformationsummit.com. And we look forward to seeing you there. It is free. And thank you for being here today. And remember to be the light you want to see in the world.